I thought the racing was pretty good. The Xfinity cars are out of control.
Hey, how does it feel to win the short track? Everybody else was racing the big track. You run the short track.
Yeah, we ran the battle. What was that? The Battle of the Beaches?
Battle of the Beaches.
Yeah.
Did you get a trophy? You lapped the field like 9 times.
I know. So, yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
What? So tell everybody what happened because nobody knows.
Apparently, Brad started smelling smoke, and he's like, I'm
Was
going to
it
fire
somebody
up
in the infield?
Or he passed gas, one of the two.
One or the other.
Do it.
So he starts rolling. He's like, I'm going to move. I got to move a little bit. I'm going to try to put it out because there was most of the fire safety stuff was off of turn 4 where the wreck was. So we're under red flag, and he's like, I smell smoke. I'm just going to move a little bit and see if I can get it out. So I look back there, and he's doing circles. So and then like 3-4 other spotters come around, and they're like, hey, you're on fire. And I'm like, yeah, he's getting ready. He's moving or whatever. And he did about, what, 4 or 5?
100.
Yeah.
It was 11 laps, I think we counted.
Well, whatever he was doing, then the fire, he stopped and it was out. But, he's like, I smell smoke. And
what did NASCAR say?
I don't know what caught
Hey,
fire.
Brett, you think?
Well, it had to be rubber on the header.
That's
right?
what I thought. I thought it went out.
But he's pretty smart because they put in these new fire extinguishers to the front of the engine. So if it would have caught fire and lighted it up pretty fast, it would have made it go off, and then
that
he
would
would
have
have
been
had to
bad.
pit. Yeah, well, he had to quit because
Yeah.
you have to have that.
We had a long stop coming anyway right there, so we were gonna lose our track position. We were gonna have to take a lot of fuel. So
Did NASCAR say anything over the radio? Like what?
no, by the time they got there though, he had already put it out like from driving around. So
Which I find interesting because at Indianapolis, I was spotting for Landon Castle in the Cup car, and we got parked for moving under red. So it's interesting that there was nothing.
Why
said
did you
about
move?
We were just rolling. We were done.
Why does it matter?
It doesn't. What's it matter? Well, we're moving. You're moving.
Well,
why is one get parked and one have no penalty whatsoever?
Well, they said from the explanation that I was told it was a safety issue because there was a fire. So,
I mean, it's okay. It still should be some kind of penalty. Like you're moving under red.
It should be to the tail. You should be something. It shouldn't be nothing.
Well, I think what you're saying is exactly what I think all the time. Why not be the same?
Yeah.
Don't forget the penalty.
Yeah, I don't-
Why
yeah,
just be
yeah,
the same?
yeah.
Why not do the
Consistent.
same thing, whether it's on fire, not on fire, whether it's moving, not
if
moving?
we got if the
whatever.
definition of us getting parked was because we moved under red, you were moving under red. You were driving around. I know what you were doing. I'm not saying you were doing anything
well,
wrong.
they
but
didn't have to worry about any wreckers or anything else being back there because all of them was sitting at the entry of pit road waiting for the green flag or the caution to come back out. So they didn't have to wait for that. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
what's the difference between that and Sterling getting out and pulling his fender in the 500?
well, I mean, one's getting out to fix damage on his car.
You're,
one's
you're
on-
fixing damage on your car.
There's a fire on the car.
Okay, but you're still
Sterling
you're
was
still-
not on
I get
fire.
it. It's your car, so you're not going to want to admit this.
I
but
would say that about any car. I don't want any guy to sit there and catch fire.
Nobody does. But I'm just saying there should be a penalty. Sterling got a penalty for getting out and making an adjustment to his car under red.
You were inadvertently working on your car under red by
Was-
moving it.
well,
Sterling's-
TJ never worked on a car, but yes.
put the
I
fire out.
actually have worked on a car a lot, but
To put the fire out, you were moving.
yeah. But let me ask
Under
you
red
this.
flag, are you allowed to move? Chris
No,
Rice.
no, you're not. So my point being was right here is exactly what you're saying, right? You're not supposed to move. You can't drive to pit road. They hold you a lap. So when he was literally getting a competitive advantage, that's where it should have come out, right? So it should have burned the spark plug wires up. That's not. It should be sitting still. Red flag, you can't work on them. Brad was working on his car.
Absolutely.
That's where I was like, what is going on? We thought he was trying to be funny. Being funny would have still been to the tail of the field, whatever they do for the red flag, whatever you get caught for if you're working on your car. They wouldn't bring those cars to pit road, maybe because they didn't know where they went, but like so you wouldn't work on them. So that's where I was. He was trying to put a fire out. Okay, that's working on your race car.
Yeah.
That would be my point.
So let me ask you this: you're talking about the red flag. What in your mind is the purpose of throwing a red flag?
Safety for the guys that need to get the cars off of the racetrack, the drivers, all of it, because it's a lot of people out there on the racetrack.
Haven't there been red flags when there's too much debris, too much where they have to clean up and they'll
The purpose of the purpose of the red flag is absolutely safety. It's also to clean up the scene of the accident to the point that when we withdraw the red, we're ready to do what?
Go racing.
Go back racing or open pit road or whatever the next procedure is. When we withdrew the red the other night, the cars that were wrecked went literally everywhere. Like there were several tow trucks that had hooked up to cars, And when they left the scene of the accident, which they should have already left the scene of the accident with these cars, when they left the scene of the accident, they took them to the wrong pit boxes. Chris drove in our pit box with wasn't even our car.
Well, so AJ said on the radio, he says if nobody can tell him to go to pit stall 3 because he stopped in 40, first off. And then he's riding down pit road, catching signs. And these signs they're like $12,000. Like they're not cheap. And then when he comes by the 13 box, because that's where I was at, I took my headset off and I screamed to him really loud, pit stall 3. The record driver literally looked at me and went, "Thank you." That's a true statement. I could not believe it. I was like, oh my gosh. And I got so frustrated and so mad. And I know the tower did. I know they did. I know it's a lot going on up there. They'll probably give us some explanation this week, but like I didn't. I was like everybody else. What is going on? Why is it? Because they don't move. The cars don't move, right, when they have flat tires. It was 4 flat tires on the 16 car. It wouldn't move. Ricky Stenhouse done one of the best burnouts ever. Maybe you should blow the tires, like puncture the tires when you want to do a burnout and just sit there and do it.
They won't move.
They won't move. So they were trying to get them back to pit road, and they won't push them anymore. They got to hook them up, so they're only on 2 wheels. So yeah, it was.
So
it
that
was a
continues
mess.
to be an issue, though. I think Joe Logano had an issue a few weeks ago in Pocono with this new car. How are they going to fix that? If
You can't fix it because they have no ride height rules, and then us as owners, we don't want to tear up the bottom of the car because it's so expensive. So we just have to deal with it. We got to figure out how to deal with it. It's just one of those things that I'm gonna sit here and say, I don't think it's on NASCAR. It's probably more on us because we don't want the bottom of the car tore up. As you've seen when that car went and flipped, that underneath is very expensive. I actually brought it with me when Justin Haley wrecked at Pocono on the last lap. How much that cost just for the bottom half of the race car is a lot. So that's what happens is when you don't want them to drive and the bottom side of the race car getting tore all to pieces because it's so expensive.